Suppose you're talking to an acquaintance, somebody you don't know too terribly well, a friend of a friend. He doesn't have a degree in the sciences. He doesn't have a background in engineering. Let's just say he's even a failed actor and sometime YouTuber. And he says to you, he has an idea for a brilliant new invention that's going to change the world, that's going to make millions of dollars. He just needs some startup investment. He needs a little bit of capital to get the ball rolling. But once it gets rolling, this could transform daily life for millions of Americans coast to coast and generate a lot of revenue. He said, okay, I'm listening. What's this idea? He says, this is an amazingly simple idea. It's so simple that I can't believe someone else didn't come up with it yet. Now, you should be more suspicious, not less, because he said, okay, what's your idea? Doesn't it bother you that every day you have to recharge your cell phone? Wouldn't it be better if we had self-recharging cell phones? Wouldn't that be better? I can't believe someone hasn't invented that already. If you give me the money, I'm going to bring this. Okay, what do you mean? Could you narrow it down for me a little bit? Like, do you have blueprints? Do you have a schematic? Like, what is this technology? No, just put the money up now, put the investment now. And in fact, he tells you he's going to make a documentary movie showing the progress of this brilliant. They're already filming. In fact, he's talking to you right now, and there's a videographer recording this. Now you're standing there looking at him like, okay, you're so confident in the great success of this idea that you got a video, but you don't have a blueprint, you don't have a patent, you don't have a background. So there's really nothing more to this idea than like a 2-sentence pitch. And now I'm asking you, what is the idea? Are you talking about a cell phone with a solar panel on the back? Are you talking about a cell phone with a pair of legs that walks itself over to the outlet and plugs itself in? Is that what you mean by a self-charging? He says, no, it's just, it's such a bother having to recharge your cell phone. We should have cell phones that charge themselves. So what does it plug into? Oh no, it doesn't plug into anything. It's just recharging itself. Look, Brad, the laws of physics can't be suspended. You can't just call for an exception to the laws of physics so that your stupid idea can work and you can make millions of dollars and this documentary you're filming can have a happy ending. That's not the way reality on planet Earth goes. There has to be a source of electricity. You can't just say you're going to invent the cell phone that has no source of electricity. That's ridiculous, right? And a good friend would take the time to ridicule the idea, to make him realize how ridiculous it is. A few of you will have already figured out who and what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about internet personality Dax Flame. Years ago now, we saw the movie The Disaster Artist. And we saw it on an airplane. This is pretty much the only circumstance I've watched conventional cinema in if I'm trapped on an airplane and too tired to get reading or research done. On an airplane, we watched this film, The Disaster Artist. The Disaster Artist is a comedy, but really it could be played as a tragedy. It could be a tremendously dark and dismal film. Because what is The Disaster Artist about? It's about a mentally disabled man. It's about a man who has had a life-changing brain injury. He has difficulty speaking. Some of you might know, this is commonly talked about in the press, one of the side effects of brain damage can be so-called foreign accent syndrome. It's quite common with car accidents to get your head caved in such a way, get a serious concussion or brain injury, such that you're just struggling to speak your own native language. But because of that brain damage, it sounds as if English is your second language. It sounds as if you're talking with an accent. This guy is badly brain damaged. He has a lot of money in the bank. He's in Hollywood. He says he's going to make a movie, and everyone enables him. This guy is like the worst actor and the worst screenwriter imaginable, but everyone is taking his money and everyone is encouraging him, right? From the coaches and the agents and the people who sell him, who rent him the equipment, the film, everyone around him, the actors he employs, everyone's taking his money, everyone's encouraging him, everyone's saying, you can do it, you're going to be great, you're good at this, right? And not one person is honest with him and says, look, how can you be the lead actor in a movie? You can barely speak in complete sentences. If you're going to invest millions of dollars in making a film, you had millions of dollars to his name, maybe you should, for your first film project, invest with someone who's an experienced and proven writer, an experienced and proven director, maybe even some experienced and proven actors, even if they've only had small-scale success. Maybe you should work with people who know what they're doing. Maybe you should have people around you who can criticize your script and tell you what's wrong with it, and criticize your acting and tell you what's wrong with it. Maybe you shouldn't just be surrounded by yes men. This was a really mentally limited guy. And, what this film is based on, The Disaster Artist, is a true story that resulted in one of the worst films ever made being released in theaters. It's called The Room. It's much laughed at and mocked. And I know people behave today as if that movie, The Room, had been produced as a comedy in the first place. But it wasn't. It was a serious drama that is so bad, it's so awful that people laugh at it, not with it. Right? It's this seriously mentally disabled guy's attempt to write a script and perform it and employ all these people and pay all this money. And he made their lives miserable making the film too. And I get it. I mean, it's so absurd. You can now take this and present it as a comedy. But really, it's a tragedy. I do not know if Dax Flame identifies as mentally disabled. If you Google this guy's name, of course, there's always been speculation that he's somewhere on the spectrum for something like autism, that he has some kind of inborn mental disability. And we've been able to see, thanks to YouTube, how his behavior changed from his teenage years to his adulthood now. But if he's not disabled, he is a very, very stupid guy. And he came out with this idea here on YouTube, an idea so simple that he couldn't believe nobody had ever done it before, right? And what was this idea? Why should you have to go to the grocery store to buy lettuce? Why should you have to go to the grocery store and buy broccoli and other green vegetables? Why can't you just have a basket with dirt in the bottom sitting on your kitchen counter and you chop up some vegetables and then the next day they've regenerated and there are more vegetables? So when I was watching his concept video, his pitch where he's explaining this, I was thinking, okay, so is he selling like a delivery service where you sign up and every day or every week someone comes and delivers new is that the point? Like, he can't really be so stupid that he's unaware that the reason why you have to go to a store to buy vegetables is because they're grown on a farm. Like, he can't be unaware that lettuce requires a farm and rain and sunshine and time to, like, it doesn't generate in 24 hours, like, on your kitchen counter. Like, how could he possibly be missing these pieces of the puzzle? He really is that stupid. Whether he's mentally disabled or not, he really is that stupid. And he went ahead and he made a documentary where he interviews all these people who are enabling him. All these people. And I don't know if there was a single person who told him he was an idiot, or if there was a single person who even challenged him saying, look, why don't you have some respect for the specialists in these fields? Why don't you have some respect for the people who actually studied at agriculture or agricultural technology or related fields of engineering at Texas A&M? Why don't you respect the humble farmer? You know, go talk to somebody who never even went to high school, but who spent their whole life farming lettuce, and they can explain to you why lettuce won't grow on your kitchen counter under a heat lamp. This is just not remotely viable. Or how many heads of lettuce do you expect per annum, per year to generate? There's so much wrong with this idea. It's just laughable, but nobody's laughing. You know, now I'm not going to say this guy has millions of dollars. He has some money and he has some fame, and he was able to translate his fame into money. He did basically a Kickstarter. He did crowdfunding. He asked for donations. One smart thing he did was he didn't promise he'd actually mass produce this thing. He just asked for the donations to pay for the documentary that was going to follow him on his journey to make this magnificent new invention, an invention that absolutely could not possibly work any more than this impossible notion of a self-charging cell phone. Okay. What does a real friend do in those situations? If you guys have been watching my channel for a long time, you know how I feel about this. If you have a friend who wants to be an actor and they don't even have a good speaking voice, they can't speak in whole sentences, you know, whether it's due to mental disability or a stutter or whatever, you got to say to them, look, unless you're planning to be a mime, unless you're planning to do silent film, you really got to check yourself. This dream is not going to become a reality. You've really got to think this through. If you have a friend who wants to be a fashion model and they're only 5'4", well, look, if you want to be a basketball player and you're 5'6" and 300 pounds, whatever it is, you should have friends in your life who really talk to you honestly about the gap between, in order to dream, you've got to be asleep. Do you want friends who are going to lead you deeper and deeper into that kind of dreaming self-deception? Or do you want friends who are going to help you to be awake, be alive, and live in the real world? And all of you now sitting here and watching this video may say, oh, I want option B. I want friends who will tell me I'm wrong when I'm wrong, and that I'm being stupid when I'm stupid, and that I'm too ugly or untalented, or you might say that right now in the context of this video, but in your real lives. How many Facebook groups have I been kicked out of for saying the most mild, well-mannered, well-intentioned critical thing imaginable? Like the human capacity to hear criticism, to hear contrasting points of view, to hear someone tell you, you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about. Here's a link to an article that provides the information you don't know. The human capacity to hear criticism, to tolerate criticism, to invite criticism, dissent and contrasting views, it's terrifying how limited that is. And that's why our species, for thousands of years, toiled in despotism. We were ruled by kings and tyrants. And, this thing called democracy, here and there, experimentally, sometimes failing, sometimes stumbling. One of the most fundamental ideas is just you bring people together in a council and really have them criticize and debate one another's views. And guess what? Nobody thinks of that as friendship. And it is. It's the most wonderful kind of friendship you could have would be a productive, collaborative rivalry where people really can tell you that you're wrong. So the next chapter in the Dax Flame Odyssey, tragically, is that he got on board with another larger, more famous, more affluent YouTuber. This YouTuber shows up at his house and interviews him, and he says, well, look, what do you want to do with your future? What's going on with you? And Dax Flame says he has a great idea. He's gonna do a game show. And this guy, Dax Flame, again, I don't know if he's actually disabled. He's the only human being on Earth who would make a worse game show host than Vegan Gaines. He talks with flat affect. He can't make eye contact. He says, oh, I've got this great idea for a game show. And guess who the game show host is going to be? It's going to be me. It's going to be me with my tremendous level of personal charisma and conversational ability, chit-chat with people on camera. And of course, everybody just enables him. Nobody says to him, look, if you want this to be a successful game show, look in the mirror. Watch your own YouTube videos. Who on earth could be a worse game show host? You can put out a casting call right now. You can compete against the other people who will show up at a casting call in Los Angeles for the role of game show host on a new game show. You're going to be 10th out of 10. And you'll be 99th out of 99, however many contestants we have, or many competitors we have to become this game show host. You are going to be the worst applicant for this job. A real friend would say that. But no, as in that film, The Disaster Artist, he's surrounded by yes men. He's surrounded by encouragement. And what are they really encouraging him to do? They were encouraging him to live in a dream instead of live in reality. These aren't the same people, but they're the same type of people who said, wow, what a great idea. Why can't people just grow vegetables like broccoli and lettuce on their countertop? Why hasn't that already been invented? Why can't that just be mass marketed? Why can't you just start asking for hundreds of thousands of dollars in investment? And, why not just take this idea and run with it? That's not really any more kind than if someone tells you they're going to walk across a bridge and the bridge is out, the bridge is going to collapse under their feet, that you just encourage them, to get out there and keep on walking. Right? So look, what is the conclusion of this video? What is the conclusion of this video? People say they want friendship, but what they really want is flattery. And especially on the internet. I see that playing out again and again and again. that people, and obviously this is associated with celebrities, but we see this with people who have no fame and no money, no fortune to their name. On the small scale, it seems like everyone tries to surround themselves with a coven of followers. And that's the term we use on the internet, of uncritical adulation, where they're not hearing these things, they're not considering, contrasting perspectives. So that's it. This is my commentary on the rise and rise of Dax Flame. I guess for members of the audience and for people who literally donated money to support this guy, maybe the fantasy is that a complete idiot can succeed, that anyone can live their dream, and that by helping someone like this live their dream, they're vicariously living out, their own dreams. Maybe it's just too uncomfortable reality to recognize that no, there are people who have degrees in electrical engineering. There are people who study and master the science of hydroponics and agriculture and all of these things. And, maybe instead of this idea of clinging to your dream, you could really have a kind of respect for the accumulated knowledge and wisdom of centuries and millennia, however imperfectly that's accessible to you, that farming happens the way it does for a reason, and that if you're going to contribute something to that great development of culture and agriculture and technology, you're going to first have to walk in the footsteps of those people who came before you and learn what they learned, and learn some of it the same way that they learned it, before adding on your own little innovation, at the end of that grand process of thousands of years. And I can even say that about cinema. I can even say that about politics, and I can even say that about YouTube. Why do I read Aristotle? Why do I read about ancient politics and the history of great political movements that have failed before me? Most of what I study in politics is failure. It's a history of disaster and failure. All kinds of grand plans and schemes, including with communism, these schemes to transform agriculture overnight, and millions of people starved to death. Oh, we're just going to throw away the textbooks on agriculture. We have this great new idea for how farming can be transformed overnight. Communism was full of exactly that kind of reckless innovation that led to nowhere. But sure, even in filmmaking, you could look at somebody like the subject of The Disaster Artist in The Room, sorry for the guy's name. You could look at Dax Flame himself and say, look, maybe there's really something in the history of cinema. Maybe there's really something that people are learning in these university programs. Maybe there are technical and artistic. Maybe there are elements here. Maybe you need to have the humility to walk in someone else's footsteps. Even if you have the money, even if you have millions of dollars, or you have the fan base, you have the fame, you have support, you just go and start making your own feature film. Maybe you should go and be the assistant to the director of photography. Maybe you should be an intern and stand on set. Maybe you should learn how it's done. Maybe you should learn from people who already have this knowledge and respect those who came before you. So, I guess that's a conclusion I hadn't thought of before pressing record in this video. But when you think about that relationship of people living as a dreamer, only beholden to their dream, I guess bundled up with that is a kind of contempt for the accumulated wisdom of the waking world, of those of us who are awake, those of us who have empirical experience, those of us who've accomplished something before. No, I'm going to cast aside all the things you people did wrong. I'm going to, with my great new invention, my great new idea, I'm going to change the world. As opposed to having the humility to say, look, I'm going to walk in the footsteps of all the people who came before me before taking my own small step further, offering something innovative that builds on the past, that isn't just denying it or, in effect, denying the laws of physics.